Welcome to Be the Revolution podcast, presented by GM Revolution, a men's skincare line dedicated to helping them change the world.
Hello, my friends, and welcome back to another Be the Revolution podcast. In our last episode, we talked with yoga instructor Brendan McGuire, where he shared with us some great tips on how to incorporate yoga practice into our day-to-day life. Today, I am joined by a good friend, Lashelle Ullie, a master esthetician based out of Beverly Hills. Lashelle joins the podcast to talk about his passion for normalizing men taking care of the health of their skin and why the barrier of masculinity needs to be reimagined. With that said, let's get right into it. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Be the Revolution podcast, presented by GM Revolution, a professional men's skincare line. Today, I'm hosted with a good friend, Lashelle, who he's going to talk a little bit about how he got into the beauty industry and what he's trying to make about normalizing men's skincare. So without further ado, I'd love to welcome Lashelle onto the podcast.
Well, thank you very much, Michael. Hello, everyone. I'm Lashelle Ullie, and I'm just want to say first and foremost how very honored and very excited to see that platforms like these are starting to exist for men. I'll give you a little bit of background, but I just also want to say that men need more spaces that are more narrowed towards them right now, so that their understanding of what we do in self-care and in the grooming and beauty world is sort of the net is gets casted wider, and there's a better comfortability with it. But my background is I'm a licensed esthetician, and I have a space in Beverly Hills, and I focus on men's self care and grooming. That being said, I deal with facial skin treatments. I do other grooming services such as brows, complexion enhancement, which is makeup for men, and little things like tinting, dyeing, you know, just things that sort of just to help enhance men's self image and the look of men. I've been doing this for a very long time, but I didn't really start to hone my focus towards men until just into the past 3 years, because I just saw that there was a need for men to have a different understanding and a different perception of what grooming and beauty was for them. And I felt, how do I create a space for them to be able to educate and inspire them in a way that they can feel comfortable? And where do I start? How do I begin? Because I worked in a salon in Beverly Hills. And please, Michael, let me know if you need me to stop, because I'll just yell.
No, keep going. I love the story.
Okay, yeah, I started in Beverly. Well, I started a long time ago in makeup, but I'll just keep it more focused towards where my guys were. Well, when I started this Beverly Hills in the Beverly Hills salon. I worked for a known eyebrow artist called Damone Roberts, and I noticed that there was predominantly a lot of women in the salon. And me as a man, I'm a person who grew up with grooming. Right, my grandmother raised us, and it was about how we looked and how we presented ourselves. We grew up in Paterson, New Jersey. It's a very rough environment. And my grandmother understood very early on that you can take a gentleman anywhere. And that being said, we always looked immaculate, whether we were going to church, school, or just casual um, events out. And she installed in me, this is how you respect yourself. Obviously, there were other things she's installed in me too, about having a spiritual foundation, and having integrity and being honest. But self-image was a huge part of it, and I carried it through the rest of all of my life. And so when I got into the salon, I remember that, and I just remember talking to some of the guys when I was trying to build my clientele, and I wanted to make guys be my predominant clientele. I would talk to guys, hey, come and get your brows done, and they were they would kind of be resistant, and I just started having conversations. What is it about this service that makes you feel uncomfortable? Well, it was a
Mm-hmm.
couple of different things. I'm sorry, you want to ask a question?
Well, I was just gonna jump in real quick, and I love that story about your grandmother. And the first way that I actually found you is through a great blog you posted, and it was titled "Why Men Should Give a Damn About Skincare." And we're gonna jump into that. But as growing up a man, you were influenced by your grandmother to get interested in how your appearance looked. But can you talk a little about how you made that jump to not only be interested in it, but to make it a career?
Well, I started as a makeup artist. I worked on counters. I wanted to be a fashion designer. That didn't work out. I couldn't go to school. We couldn't get funded for the school. And so what I had to do was get a job. And I
Mm-hmm.
knew that I just didn't want to have a regular job. And I knew a little bit about artistry because I knew how to self draw, taught myself how to draw. And I loved makeup and I loved the instant gratification that makeup brought to women. And, and so I jumped into that. And then from there, I learned how to do skincare right on the counters. So I've worked for so many different cosmetic lines from Chanel, Bobby Brown, you name it, MAC, um, Guerlain. I mean, I've worked for them all, Sephora. And so, for me doing makeup, I started to learn more about skincare. And I personally wasn't a person who wore makeup very early on. So I knew that I started to do skincare on myself. And the results from that was phenomenal. And once again, my grandmother had beautiful skin, and she would say to me, "This is the key right here." She says, "You could do as much makeup as if you want, but it'll never look good if your skin's not good."
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she says, also, it's an extension of your health. So just see it like that, and you'll be okay. And when she installed that into me, Michael, that's when I realized, oh, I get it. And from there, it just kind of sort of evolved from counter work. I left the counter work after doing it for over 10 years, moved to LA, started working in salons, and got my license as an esthetician and really got down into the nooks and crannies of how skin works, how it functions, and I just became so interested in it, and then I just started doing facials at the salon.
Yeah. So while you've been working for these cosmetic companies and um, working for different salons, you've had the opportunity to work with a lot of high list celebrities, especially out in that Beverly Hills area. But from my understanding, that used to be kind of your definition of success. That was the end game.
Yeah,
But over the past couple of years, you've had this kind of mindset shift. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
yeah. It's, being around, so the goal as a makeup artist or anybody in beauty, you want to work with a celebrity because you think that if you're doing all these glamorous jobs, and obviously the pay is good, and then you're being brought into this world of beauty. But when I got here, I, it just saw some things in the environment that didn't feel like me, and there was so much of yourself that you have to sort of bend and give away, that it wasn't for me. So the more I was around it, the more I knew I wanted to work with people who were just regular people, um, from all different walks of life. And my idea of success is just really doing what you love, putting your best foot forward, being passionate, and finding some peace in that. Now, I'm not going to tell you that I'm 100% there. That journey just started for me within the last 2 years. And it's been sort of walking slowly towards just what I just told you. Because, you get to here to LA, and you want to be successful. And it's really, success in this town, especially, is really measured by the celebrities and the social media, all the above. And I thought I had to keep up with that. And I realized every time I tried to keep up with that, I I didn't feel authentic. I didn't feel that my work it wasn't about the client. It was about trying to get that name, trying to get that brand. And it just felt tired of trying to run down that particular path. And I knew, me being tired and me being frustrated, that wasn't for me. So, not let's not force it. So what I started to do is when I really started to really hone in what I wanted to do with skin care and treatments and self care, I realized there was a need. You know, I'm going towards men because there is a need for them to have a different understanding. And I want to educate them and inspire them on that. That's where my success is. My success is education and helping people see a different way, a better way, using my particular skill set with aesthetics.
Yeah, I love that. The way I hear it is kind of, when you're working with these celebrities, the success is very inwards of it's affirmation that, you're doing a good job, that you were able to do this, but now your success is outwards. It's how can you impact actual people that and make a difference in their lives. I
Yeah.
love that.
I'll share a small story. I'll never forget. I was trying to get a makeup job, and let me tell you, Michael, it was hard. I've all the makeup. If anybody ever looks at any of my Instagrams, both my men and women's page, I done all my makeup. I hired all the photographers. I did everything. I did all the production because I couldn't get an agency to look at me. And I remember getting my website up, and after doing all this work, and I went presenting myself to a particular agency, say, "Hey, I want to be one of your artists on roster." And so I spoke to the person who ran the company, and she said to me, "Well, have you did any celebrities?"
Mm,
Said, "Well, no." I said, "But you can see that I can do the work." And I went through all the different genres of makeup so that she can see I had some diversity. And she says, "Well, it doesn't make any sense if you don't do can't do celebrities." And I said, "Well, what does that matter?" And it was that
yeah.
thing. I was just like, if you're measuring me based off a celebrity versus my actual skill set, then we have a problem. And then that's not something I want to do.
Yeah. No, I love that. That's a huge realization that you had to go through.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. For sure.
So yep. So now I got the big question for you. Ultimately, what you're here to talk about is why men should give a damn about skincare and why they haven't so far. That why is this just an emerging trend that we're seeing lately in the beauty industry and not something that's talked about a lot?
Oh gosh, I have to breathe
Yeah,
on.
where do we start?
Yeah, well, I'm going to unpack the first one. There's a
Yeah.
psychology. There's a mindset when it comes to beauty, and everything is so compartmentalized and made to separate. And so men have their things and women have their things. Grooming and beauty should be both for men and women across the scale: hair, skin, everything. So with men, there's this most men there's this ideology that skincare and taking that part of your skin is a couple of different things. One, it's seen as going to get a facial, is seen as something pampering and feminine. And secondly, most men don't see it as a necessity or a priority. Okay? They don't even think about it. They don't even take it into the equation. And it stems from us being young. When we're young, I'm sorry, can you hear that in the back?
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right.
So that's one thing. They don't even see it as a priority, And then we have um, my last topic is not topic, but the last thing I always hear from men, and the thing that really gets me, really inspired me to really start educating them and talking to them in a different way about skin was, "I don't have the time," and it's one more thing that I have to maintain, and that is where that's most of the things you'll hear from men. And why should they do skincare? Because
Hmm.
first of all, it's your first line of defense. It is your skin. It is the thing, your outer layer in the largest organ of your body, which me and you already know that, and it protects and takes care of you. Not to mention everything that is going on within you and within you mentally, emotionally, physically shows up on your skin. So you want to make sure that that is taken care of, it's strong, it's healthy, because it's going to be with you for the rest of your life. And so, did you want to?
Right. Right. And men, yeah, men are so there's no stigma
Mhm.
around going to the gym 5 days a week, and
Mhm.
intentionally putting in that effort to make your body healthy, to keep your body looking young, to have increased mobility. But for some reason, over the years, there's been that it's seen as pampering,
And
as taking care of your skin and making you look healthy. And I think it's so important that that barrier is broken down.
well, here's the thing: pampering is not a bad thing. This is why self care is important. This is why
Yep.
I explain to them what's wrong with you taking care of yourself in that way. There's something about, well, first of all, skin health. Let's unpack the gym thing. So one of the things that I work with my clients after they've gotten a treatment from me, because there's two different things that I do with them. A facial, which is pampering and relaxing, it sort of introduces them into what skincare is about, what facials are about. It also gives them a minute to sort of decompress and relax in a way that most men have never done. Okay. Once I've done that, then I do skin treatments, which is a little bit more compartmentalized to particular skin issues and solutions that we're trying to get to. So if I see like things like razor burns, razor bumps, acne, whatever your target issues are, you come see me after that and we deal with that. And so what I say to them is, this is going to be a partnership. And what I want you to understand is it's not going to be something that's you're going to get instant gratification from. Same as when you go to the gym. You go to the gym, it's a gradual build up before you start to see a change in your body and in your muscle. It's the same with your skin. It's an organ. Okay? So once I start talking to them in that way, they understand that they're going to be on a little bit of a journey. And in that journey, there's going to be so many things that are going to be sort of illuminated for them. It's something about them taking the time to come to see me to learn about their skin, to now get some information about it and then go home and take care of it, that really sort of, it's like a neurological response of, wow, I'm taking the initiative to really um, nurture and love myself in a different way. Do you know that, Michael, that most men don't even go to the doctor because of that whole feminine invincibility thing that keeps them from skincare?
Wow, I did not know that. I don't doubt it, but and
Mhm.
that makes a lot of sense when you hear that, but I did not know that.
Mhm. And so, as a professional, I even get to introduce that into some of my clients. I've dealt with clients who I've worked on and I've seen some precancerous spots. And I said, hey, have you been to the doctor to check this out? When's the last time? And you ask them, well, why don't you go? Oh, I don't need a doctor. I don't need to go to the doctor. Of course you do. Of course you,
Mhm.
you know, so it's this whole it's the skincare self-care thing with men is all sort of neglected because of this very narrow minded view of what masculinity should be. So because you think that you should be a man, that entails you neglecting things that will keep you healthier, looking stronger, feeling better. It doesn't make any sense, you know. And
Mhm.
so I want to introduce at least an awareness of health through the beginnings of skincare.
Yeah, so for me personally, getting into skincare was like riding a bike. Growing up with my mom being in the skincare industry her whole life, I, when I was say 13 years old, and you start getting that acne and your skin starts breaking out, and you start to see it all across your friends as well. And for me, I would be at home doing clay masks, two nights a week, and I didn't think anything of it. And
Right.
I like to say that I had a skincare routine by the time I was 13 years old, but it wasn't until I moved away and realized that that was seen as weird. I just had no idea that that wasn't the reality for a lot of men. So when you're trying to focus on educating people, what is that age that you're trying to get people interested in skincare?
Well, you want to start as young as you possibly can. Um, and my clients kind of vary. I usually have men in their mid 20s and up. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's normally where I go. But now I'm reaching out to men of all ages. And here's the thing: you said something about your story about you didn't get introduced to skincare until acne happened. And what I try to introduce to men is let's not wait until the fine lines, until the aging happens, until something happens in order for
Right.
you to do something for yourself. This should be something that comes normally as brushing your teeth. You know, and so you want to get started as early as possible. There was a gentleman that I reached out to. He's an influencer, and I love him to death because he's got a great workout. He's great, and I reached out to him because I noticed something about him. I said, he's a young man too. He's got to be in his early 20s,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing him do all this work, and I reach out to him. I said, I would love to know what your skin health routine is and what you're doing for skin because he had such a great regimen for everything else. You know what he sent back to me? He said to me, "River cold, just run. I just use running river cold water." And I said to him back to him, I said, okay, that's great because cold water firms and it tightens. I said, but what are you using to nourish and protect? Because it's still your skin. You still, from the rays of the sun, from the environmental damage. What are you doing to keep that skin nourished? Basically, the nourishing and the protecting is keeping the skin strong. The water is cleaning the skin, but what's protecting it? And I got nothing from him.
Right.
Um, and so, yeah, I try to get them as early as I possibly can. I I I know nowadays these millennials are a little bit more on it than I was at my age, or we were at our age, or most men were at my age because I was on it at a young age. They understand the importance of skincare. They just now need to be navigated on how it works and what works for them.
Yeah, and I love that you're talking about, let's start doing things before they're an issue because I mean, I personally am in my young 20s and talking with my friends that are my age and talking to them about, why are you using a 3-in-1 body shampoo and conditioner all to wash your face with? And the response is typically, well, my skin, it doesn't look bad right now. They're over the acne scene. Their skin is looking, in theory, as good as it ever has.
Right.
And it's the conversation of, well, it's going to look great now, but in 5 years you're going to start seeing some lines, and let's not address it when the lines are already there.
Here's the thing, and you said it, the 3-in-1. I mean, I can go on that forever, but at least I kind of give those guys at least they're using something because we have guys who don't use anything and won't
Right.
use anything. So that those I love those clients. Those if they say they're using a 3-in-1 or they're using a little something because they have the potential to do more. You know, um, but let's unpack that a little bit. Yes, it's about I'm fine now. Basically, my skin is looking great. I'm gonna be young forever in a sense. It's the mindset at the back of it, and I go, okay, that's great, but it can be better. And I think a lot of them don't realize there's an edu- they don't, this is where I come in as someone who educates them about it. It's great that your skin looks great right now. Let's keep it looking stronger. Let's keep it looking healthier. And this is how we get to do it. Most men just don't know, Michael. They just don't. It's not that
Hmm.
they don't want to. They just don't understand. Well, if I'm okay now, why do I need to worry about it? It's like if I'm not sick, why do I need to go to the doctor?
Right.
You know,
Right.
you're not understanding that environmental damage, right? So you just using a moisturizer is prevention as well as nourishing and protecting you. So, once you start to give them this information, it does arise a certain, oh, okay, I understand. And most men, and they go, okay, well, then I'll start using the moisturizer. With men, I try to meet you where you're at. And if you're
Hmm.
And if you're bringing in a piece by piece, that's always room for growth for more. So, yeah,
Yeah, no, even you've got a client that might be using a great cleanser, twice a day. That's not the end all be all. And it's important to meet our clients where they're at and help them grow, because not only is it a journey, but you can always take it to the next level.
Yeah, yeah. Always take it to the next level. And what I love now is there's so much going on with self care and skincare now that most men are starting to see it, visually see it. And what it is it's a shame. Most of the guys that will come into me, especially about skincare, the brows. Once I got them past the brows, it was fine. Um, it was a secret.
Hmm. Yep. Hmm.
And which equated to me was, oh, you think you're being, it's like a feminine thing. No, boys, stop. Let's not do this to ourselves. And it was only if if their male friend or a few of them, oh, went like, oh, my buddy goes and this guy goes, and then okay, I guess it's okay for me to go, you know. And it's really all psychological, and it all has to do with uh, uh, a warped sense of their own sexuality and masculinity, and
Yeah.
and it keeps them from taking care of themselves. It's ridiculous sometimes.
Right. I know personally, I have a good friend, and we were just kind of talking about this concept of, the definition of masculinity and how it's changing. And she was telling me a story of her getting skincare products for her boyfriend, and he was almost ashamed to use it and would hide it from his roommates and such. And it's there is that hump to get over, that it's okay to take care of yourself, and it's okay to feel good and to look in the mirror every day and be proud of what you're looking at.
Michael, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So
Yes, I love that. Yep.
so let's unpack the boyfriend and girlfriend thing. I've had a lot of my men clients came from from the women that I was just giving treatments to at this former salon before I opened my business, and that's how I acquired a lot of my main clientele. And sometimes I would talk to them, hey, bring your husband and let me take care of his brows and his nose hairs and things and give him a treatment. Oh, he's not gonna want that and da 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 da. He's not that type of guy. And I go, well, first of all, let me just say that you're not helping the narrative, right? Of what it
Mhm.
is to be a man. Women kind of play into that work sense of masculinity too, and how a man should be. And then I go, let me just say this to you. And and please let me know if I'm wrong. And I've asked several women this, and I said, so he's not taking care of himself. How long you been married? How long you been dating? I said, I'm sure that some parts of that not taking care of himself is showing up in your relationship as well. And
Wow.
when some of them thought about what I said and really thought about it, Michael, everything is connected, right? And so it's back to even what you say in GM Revolution. We're not here to change the world. We're just here to change the perception of mind. Because once you start doing that, you apply it to everything else in your life. Men who take care of themselves, who really take care of themselves from a healthy perspective, not from a vain or selfish perspective, you see them do better in their lives, in their family lives, in their work lives. Okay?
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's, everything you do, especially if it's going to the gym or taking care of your skin, you're intentionally dedicating part of your day to make yourself a better person. And, I love morning meetings, for example, of, if, especially now working remote and a meeting's going to be online, and it's, my morning routine is getting out of the shower and doing my skincare routine and hopping on a meeting right away. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know if there's a time of the day that I don't feel as confident as that moment of my skincare routine is just done. It's 8 o'clock in the morning or whatever. And, that's my game face right there.
Mhm. You've taken that extra time for yourself, one. That's for yourself to nourish yourself. The whole act of putting on the skincare, that whole pampering aspect, that's nourishing yourself, even if it's for 5 minutes out of the day. Now, from that act of nourishing yourself and using good products, right? Using good products that down the road, as you keep doing it, you start to see a textural change in your skin. And you start going, the reason why you can keep going with your skincare routine, because you see the change in your skin, you see how healthy you're looking. It physically feels good for you to it be part of a ritual for you in the morning, it all applies. So when you show up in these rooms, you feel good. There's a sense of confidence about you. There's a sense of I'm loving myself today or in this way.
I'm going to interrupt this great conversation to hear from a word from our sponsors. If this conversation gets you or someone you know interested in taking care of their skin, visit gmrevolution.com and be sure to follow us at gmrevolutionskin. Finally, if there's someone in your life that you think would make a great podcast guest, feel free to reach out to us at info@gmrevolution.com. Now let's get back to the episode.
I'm telling you, it all applies. Women have gotten the idea of this for a very long time. I always say, think about the woman who's lost her husband or she's gotten divorced. What is one of the first things she does?
I don't know if I know the answer to that.
She goes and cuts her hair. She gets a hair dye. She got like
Sure.
you know why? Because she wants to feel good about herself. And so, yes, if pampering is a woman's thing, then let's learn from some of the women to how to take care of ourselves. That's not a problem. We just now have to find things, men have to now find things that are relative to them. This is why the space that I have in Beverly Hills, when you come to it, it looks like a place for a man. It looks comfortable to them. It feels, like their environment. It smells like a space for them because it's all, sort of, you know, I made it so that men can feel comfortable and like they have a space for themselves. Because I always say, and in the world of services, women will go to a men's salon and get something done. They have no problems. They're comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
A man is more reluctant to go to a woman's salon.
Right.
So
And
that,
so
yeah.
so you've got, say, 50% of the population, that that it's just an untapped market in the beauty industry. What do you see the future for spas and salons? Do you see, creating new spaces or making it a more gender neutral space? What do you kind of see that as a way to get men and a huge market opportunity into their doors?
I think there's a mixture of both happening because of the whole LGBTQ community with non-binary and non-gender specific. I think that those are going to start happening where we're going to sort of cross-pollinate with each other in a way that the spaces will sort of appeal to both genders. But I still think like women like to have their spaces and their times as just a place for them to get away from their husbands and to get away from, and just to be around women. Men are going to want the same thing. One of the things that I'm aiming for down the road in my career is to build a men's spa that has everything from massage to facials to manicures to haircuts. Yeah, I think there's going to be a varied response. I think there's going to be a couple of different avenues that we're going to be able to take it in terms of where do we go for our treatments. I think men are going to have their places. I think women are going to have their places. I think there are going to be places where things are going to be cross-pollinated because we have that happening in the world too. And I think it's going to be so commonplace because what I always say about what I do as an aesthetic. Now, let's keep in mind that I'm also oncology aesthetics trained. So I work with men who are immunosuppressed and deal with cancers. So I always say some of them who can't really get to certain medical care doctors, we are the new wellness clinics of the day.
Right, right.
Therapeutic touch. Because yes, I'm doing skin treatments on you, but I'm also touching you and relaxing your body. I think with aesthetics, especially because of what we do, it can definitely be part of continuum care and works with physicians, doctors. So it's growing and it's being understood more than something superficial and surfaced.
Right. And yeah, I love that image of that whole men's getaway. And if you think back in the history of America, there's no bigger culture, image of, a downtown barber shop, where
Hmm.
people are just hanging out.
Hmm.
That's where they go. That's where their friends are. That's just what you do in your free time. And there's no masculinity shaming. about,
No,
getting your haircut. And what is more, pampering than, getting a good haircut, wanting to look good. It's all ties into, intentionally doing an act to make yourself look better and to feel better.
right. Right. It's funny you said that because in the barbershops in the 30s and 40s, men were getting their nails done. They were getting their skin taken care of by their barber, and they were getting a haircut. They were already doing it. Men were one of the first people, men of affluence, when you know the history of beauty. Men were the ones who were doing most of the grooming because it was seen as a status and power symbol. This is going back to Egyptian times into
Right.
the turn of the first and second centuries and so on. So men were already doing it, and somewhere I would say in the 60s is when it changed. It really changed, and it became less about men taking care of that part of themselves. And I think that had to do with everything that was going on in the culture and the environment of the time, and it sort of stick that way. But now we're coming back around to it. But it's coming back around now and seeing less as image and more as wellness. And that's why I do what I do, and I've stayed in this environment because my first love is people, and my first love is connecting people. I'm not a therapist by trade, but boy, do I get to connect with people in a real way and learn. And we can heal, through this service, this act that I'm doing of just helping you acquire a new coping skill, or I call it a top line behavior, in the sense of something to assert yourself and take care of yourself. That's addressing certain things in mental health, you know, that whole neurological response of I'm taking care of myself in this way. So that's where this culture is going, and I'm so for it. I'm so for it, and I'm glad that I'm here in this time.
Yeah, absolutely. And, being an esthetician, it's totally part care, but it is part therapist to some extent because you're in an intimate setting with one other person. You've got some relaxing music going on, but essentially, you're there to talk, you're there to listen, and it's all about self care. And a lot of times, just those discussions that go on in that room have nothing to do with your skin, but what's going on in your life, what's happening, why are you here in the first place.
Yeah, well, I'm dealing with their skin, man. So it's personal space. One, I'm dealing with some of their skin issues. It's a very intimate space. It makes them very vulnerable for someone to work on your skin and to know. I can tell you um, a lot about yourself just working on your skin.
Right.
I know, hey, you party, you drink, you smoke, you do, I'm asking all the questions because I have to now address these issues and help you to sort of counteract these issues, these skin issues. And so it's very intimate, right? And after we've seen each other for a while, um, and if, I'm just that type of person that, I really, really enjoy it. And I enjoy nurturing people. I really do. And so, yes, it's a very intimate environment. It's a very intimate environment. And it allows people to, like I said, it opens them up for other things that lead down the path of mental health and physical health to take care of.
Right. So one thing I've noticed on this journey of starting GM Revolution and really just trying to tap into that men's space, the biggest thing I've really seen from men is in the culture we live in, men are, and I am overgeneralizing here, but it's something I've picked up on and something I've dealt with myself. And, men are dying to stand out, to be noticed, to be different,
Hmm.
but it's all, how can I stand out with affirmation? How can I be different as long as it's not weird? And I'm really excited because I think a lot of important people are talking about mental health, talking about, normalizing things that back in the 60s, like you said, of, our parents' generation, a post-war generation, that, men are supposed to be focused on control, supposed to be focused on, being the breadwinner and being financially stable, being safe, not taking any risk. And I think we're having a huge generational shift now of, men are wanting to branch out, but it's got to be it's got to be within some realm of affirmation there. And I think those boundaries are definitely being pushed.
I think so too. I'm sitting here and I'm listening to you, and the first thing that popped up, and I hope this makes sense to you. I'm gay, right?
Right.
And the gay community is embraced when they are properly embraced by people. They love the fact that we are free. They love that gay men are free, and that even men who are not gay, who are comfortable with being around gay men. They love us because of that freedom that we have and that ability to sort of be fluid with our emotions and our sexuality in a way where men compartmentalize most of that part of themselves. And so what I heard when you said men want to stand out, the only thing men need to do is take off the social construct of what they thought masculinity should be and just be human beings and be who they are. Men are beautiful, beautiful people, beautiful humans when they and the difference between masculine and feminine, there is a certain um I want to say assertiveness that men have, or I guess physical strength that we have, and I think we are always trying to express that ways that come
Sure.
out. Yeah, and so I think only thing men have to do if they really want to stand out is just be exactly who they are as an individual and not fit into one or that very linear line of what a man should be. And you'll see difference. You'll see them stand out in a different way. Men are beautiful. I love working with them. And I'll tell you this too. Men, once they understand this world of aesthetics and grooming, they become my most loyal customers because
Hmm.
they want to learn, and they adapt it differently than women. What I love about men, and this is what goes back, and I'm gonna shamelessly plug your line because I love it. Men are not going to be bothered with things if it doesn't serve a practical function in their lives. This is just not going to happen. And so they become loyal when they can see that the products and what you're doing is actually working. you know they stick with it and they grow with it from there. That's the beautiful thing about a man. They kind of stay loyal and build the integrity based on something that they know is working for them.
Right.
And
There's absolutely a brand loyalty as long as it works, and then they become those raving fans of, like,
Mhm.
they feel that personal connection to a brand if it's helping them.
Yeah, but I was also with the brand, but even with themselves. And so what happens is when they start to feel more comfortable that these things are working, there's a part of them that becomes, when they become more honest, they become more free, and when they feel safe,
Right.
I'm okay here. This is not something bad. I'm not judged here. And then that's when the tide changes for them. And I think standing out is something that they're not going to have to try to do. It's just going to happen. It may not look how it did before, years before, where it was about this overt masculinity and toughness. I think the vulnerable parts of a man are beautiful, very beautiful, very beautiful, and that's what's going to stand out for them.
Right. And so now, kind of going into a little bit of a rabbit hole here, but you're saying, when a man is free, when he just drops, those social constructs of what he's supposed to be and just be himself as a human being. I personally love that. And I think a lot of times people can go their whole lives without, really knowing who they are. So for men, how do you, find out who you are as a human?
Oh shoot! Well, I'll go on my own personal journey because for every man it's different. Um,
Absolutely.
and reason being is because we all grew up in different families and different environments with different cultural um, pressures that were put on us. So for me, growing up in New Jersey in a very tough neighborhood, having a very disciplined grandmother who worked for affluent families and then learned from those families and brought it into her own family, you know? And so I had all these things on me, plus our own food. We had drugs and alcohol in our family. So it was a lot of different elements happening there. And then I was a gay black male, and I am a gay black male, not was. And growing up in an environment that didn't quite have room for me or didn't accept me. So I had to in my 30s, I had to find out how do I do that? Because I didn't know how, Michael. I did not know how. I didn't even was aware that I needed to because I was so busy. I lived a certain way for so long that I thought I was okay until I wasn't. So what my first beginning was, I grew up in church, so I believe in God, and God having a spiritual foundation is fantastic. I also had been through drugs and alcohol and I've been 4 years sober. So I have a recovery community. And in recovery, we do a 12-step program that basically is a spirit that gets you to a spiritual foundation. And that's something that you get to practice throughout your life to kind of get out of your own way. That was one of the things that helped me clear out the baggage, helped me to kind of see Lashelle, okay, and really see my Lashelle. Once I understood my behaviors and patterns that weren't working for me, you learn that in recovery. You get to see who you really are, and you and step into it. Because if I don't, then I hurt myself through drugs and drink. Another thing too is I went to a therapist. I enjoyed her. I loved it. I sought her out because I wanted to know. See, all this would have not worked if I didn't want to know. I wanted to get out of my own way. I wanted to stop feeling the tightness in my chest. I wanted to stop trying to fit in to feel safe with men, women, whites, blacks, gays, straights. It was driving me nuts. And
Yeah.
so I sought out communities and professionals, mentors, and friends. I actually prayed for it, and God brought me people that will keep me in the line of knowing exactly who I am. One of my prayers every morning is, help me to learn, God, help me to learn what you know about me. And I tell you, that is happening. It's happening even now with my profession.
Yeah, wow, I love that. Just that morning prayer that's pretty powerful.
Mhm.
Um that's yeah, I'm gonna have to jot that one down.
Yeah, jot it down. No, it's great. I don't know if you do believe in God, and I don't want to go off on a tangent about that, but I I could never have gotten directed even to this part of my life with working with, and that's what also influenced me working with men in this industry, because I work with men in recovery, and the stories I would hear, and from watching people come into the rooms as hurt, very guarded, scared men, until you start to see them blossom and open up. And I learned so much about the men I used to be afraid of. I used to be afraid of white straight males who I thought, that were going to repress me or hurt me. I learned about these men in these rooms, and I saw
Mhm.
humanness in my gay brothers who, you know, we've come in, just so many different men from so many different walks of life in the world of recovery, that I said, wow, there's a need for them to bring. I don't know if you know this. I take well, when we were open, I take my brows and my skincare up to recovery homes. And let me tell you something, Michael. You think it's the women that jump to me first? No. It's the men. I want my brows done. I need my skin done. My skin looks like this. But these are men who ego has been knocked down
Mhm.
through drugs and alcohol or whatever their given addiction was, and now they're in a space of rebuilding, and so they're more open, and not, and I'm talking about hardcore, some hardcore prisoners and hardcore men who, when I go up there, they look for me to come. They want their skin in their face done. They understand it helps them look for a job, it helps them feel better, a sponsor. These are my guys that are coming up to me because that ego has been knocked down,
Yeah.
and they
I
understand.
That's super inspirational there. Love. I mean, and that's why I reached out to you in the first place. Of reading through the stuff in on the journal on your website, and you know with GM Revolution, it's so much more about just getting men into skincare. It's that full package of connecting with human beings and empowering men to be the best version of themselves. And that story, everything you've shared so far has is exactly why we intentionally reached out to you. You're leading the way, and it's great to hear that story.
I love it. And let me just tell you, you're what's going to be good for GM Revolution. And this is one of the reasons why I really like you, Michael, and I like the product. Is because your product is good. It's I'm all we're in this world where, let's keep it real, spirituality is trending.
Right.
Right? People,
Religion's not trending, but people are spiritual. It's interesting.
yeah, you know what I mean? And so, fine, however however you need to get, to your higher power, that's your business. But in the world that we're in, which is I'm about working with people and products that really um, bring results and good results, because that's longevity, that's
Mhm.
real, that's honest. I can see a change. So while I'm going through all of this, and now you're asking me to take care of myself in this way, i.e., skincare and taking a regimen every day, it's nice to see the progression along with everything else that I'm doing in my life.
Yeah.
And your products are good. Your products are very good, actually. I'm very happy. I started using them. Now it's going on my second week, and just the feel of the product is great. But the
The
hyaluronic.
hyaluronic acid. Yep.
Oh my God, it's fabulous. In my treatment room, I use a medicinal grade, but it's a great home care, and it has the same efficacy, just about the same efficacy that is the medicinal. So you're gonna definitely, the skin, just you can see my skin. It just, without product on it, it's just brighter. It's a lot firmer. It's a lot stronger, and has a lot more a healthier look to it. Your products are good, and that's what's gonna keep you good. A lot of people make a lot of claims, but GM Revolution is doing something good with their
No, we
brand.
appreciate that.
I'm
Absolutely, we
happy.
appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys, really, really do, and I'm looking forward to introducing products to my clients now that I think we're opening up very soon. They just told us yesterday.
Oh, that's great to hear.
hmm So I'll be opening up in the beginning of October. I'm on 338 North Cannon Drive in Beverly Hills, and I'm taking appointments, everyone. So
Yeah,
go on LachelleUlie.com. The service menu is there. I will be carrying GM Revolution as my home care for my guys. I'm telling you, the products are very good. I'm very happy with them.
that's great to hear. As we kind of close this podcast episode up, anything else you want to say? Anything you want to plug? Just some final words of wisdom.
Well, I think I just plugged my book. I mean,
Yep.
my business. So that was one thing. But yeah, follow me at Lashelle Min. He's on IG to see some of my posts, and you can get some lessons and some feedbacks, and I have some great content coming up. But more importantly, here's the thing with guys: be open. Be open to learning how to take care of yourself. Be open to doing esteemable acts to grow and evolve yourself, whether that be going to a therapist, doing skincare. You'll be surprised at what comes out of that for yourself. And be fearless enough to be brave to not care what anybody else thinks as you're going through your process. Because it takes a real man, to be vulnerable and to let down his guard for growth and to be uncomfortable. That's it.
Love that. All right. Well, that's going to conclude today's podcast. Lachelle, it's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah.
You're leading the industry in a great way, and just such a great mindset going into it. So thank you once again.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate you, and thank you for having me up here.
Once again, we cannot thank Lashelle enough for hopping on this podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you are in the Beverly Hills area, be sure to check out his men's salon. And for any other questions, be sure to follow us at GM Revolution Skin and check out our website, gmrevolution.com. That's all for today. We'll see you next time.